Welcome, I'm Jon Caldara, president of the Independence Institute and your devil's advocate. Later on, we'll talk a little politics, but first, it's not really weed, it's hemp. Don't you know there's a difference? You know her, you love her, you miss her from the AP. Kristen Nichols. I will not get used to Nichols.
I'm so glad to be here.
How's marriage working out for
Great.
you? Really?
Great, yeah.
You haven't dumped a sorry ass yet?
Not yet. No,
Really?
It's been going good.
I wasn't talking about the husband, I was talking about the AP.
Oh,
You're not
no.
ready. You want to come back?
No.
All right. Hemp industry
Hemp
news?
Industry Daily.
I'm assuming it's online.
All online and all hemp, all CBD.
No cannabis pot, no.
Well, cannabis and hemp are the same plant, of course. So sometimes it bleeds in, but no, it's all hemp and CBD coverage.
Well, something that is all hemp and CBD coverage is, of course, Westword, which is run by pot ads. Is that?
Yeah. A little
Tom
hemp,
Mitchell, thank you for
mostly
being
pot.
here.
Yeah.
I mean, you're the cannabis editor.
Yeah.
Is that like the best job ever for a stoner? Is that this is it?
You're just associating me with that right off the bat. Huh?
Yeah, so I think I'm willing to take that risk.
Sorry, Mom.
What, like Mom was proud to begin with?
Super proud. First job of its kind, almost. No, yeah, it's a fun job to talk about at parties for sure. It's fun to hand out the business card.
Usually people are talking to you about pot, about getting high or the products or the market and all that, but there's changes to hemp. So let's start over here. Give me the difference between hemp and what we're calling the other stuff. Okay,
the difference is that hemp has to have a low percentage of THC, that is a cannabinoid chemical that's in the flowers that creates a high, it's an intoxicant.
All right, so when we think pot, really, we're not thinking about the leaves. We're talking about the buds, the flowering part.
Yeah, the flower part.
That's what some people use, right?
Yeah, yeah,
right.
Sure. And people have been breeding the cannabis plant for thousands of years to increase the THC content in flowers and make them stronger, and that's marijuana.
And if a plant doesn't have those flowers,
then it's hemp. They still have the flowers, but the flowers don't have as much as this one chemical. So think of it as like different kinds of peppers or pepper plants or different kinds of tomato plants. Maybe one is a green tomato, one is a red tomato, but they're both tomatoes, or one is different kinds of dogs. One's a golden retriever and marijuana is a Rottweiler, but they're both dogs and they can mate if people didn't intervene.
All right, but you can't get a buzz off of hemp, right? Or can you?
So that's what it's kind of like. So the federal government has a definition of hemp, and that's nothing more than 0.3% THC. So if you were smoking that, yeah, it'd be really hard to get high off of that.
0.3% THC.
Yeah.
Give me an idea. A regular thing, if I go down to a pot shop today, what is the THC level in most
15 to 20%, probably.
Not 0.3, but
yeah.
Not 0.15, but 15%.
Yeah.
So a massive difference.
Right, and you can buy concentrates that are upwards of 95% THC at the dispensary.
Is it beer and near beer? You know, is it non-alcohol? Is that the way to look at it? There's alcoholic beer and then there's non-alcoholic beer.
Well, people aren't smoking hemp. You know, you can, like she said with CBD, you can, extract it and consume it that way. But people aren't smoking bowls of hemp. It'd just be bad for your lungs for not much benefit.
Okay. All right, then tell me why would I care about hemp? Mm-hmm. And then let's talk a little bit about the changes in the law. You have a whole magazine on a plant that doesn't get you high.
Well, I've been schooled because I used to always say that hemp is not psychoactive. But I've been told you shouldn't say that because hemp can help a lot of people with anxiety or depression. And so that is kind of psychoactive. So they say it's not intoxicating. And people have always been breeding this plant to increase the high because people like to be intoxicated, just like people want the best wine or the best bourbon. But they're finding now that there are other chemicals in the flower. CBD is one. There's others that maybe have some health benefits that don't get you high. And so you can, let's say you're driving or you're taking care of kids or for whatever reason you do not want to be intoxicated in your day, but you might think maybe this could help for my pain or maybe this could help for my anxiety.
So let's talk a little bit about the CBD oil first, which is I've got a friend who has chronic fatigue syndrome and it's been kicking him for years. Mm-hmm. He's now using, what does CBD stand for? I forget.
Cannabidiol.
Cannabidiol?
Cannabidiol, yeah. It's just like, I mean, it's a lot easier to say than what THC actually stands for. I can't even pronounce that, but yeah.
So he takes a few drops of this every day, and it hasn't cured him. It's not mitigated completely, but it has said, I can now go to work and not have to crash in the middle of the day. I've known people who have joint pain who are using CBD creams and ointments. And you're nodding your head.
It can, I mean, I've heard people using it for skin disorders. I've heard people using it for nerve pain, anxiety. There's a lot of different, I mean, it's a lot like THC where it depends on the user and their metabolism, but there's plenty of people that use it for a variety of reasons, and studies are just starting to try and crack that and figure out the efficacy of it.
And I mean, at least anecdotally, people are doing, and these people are not doing it to get high, because, as you say, you can't get intoxicated. It's not powerful enough to get intoxicated, but it has an impact.
For a lot of people, it does. Everybody has different cannabinoid receptors in your body, so it really does affect everybody differently. And I think what's important about CBD is there are people like your friend that really find it changes their lives, but very few people use CBD and then get sick or feel worse. It doesn't really have a lot of examples of people feeling sick to their stomach or feeling like they got headaches. A lot of people who do try marijuana THC products don't like it, don't like the feeling, but you seldom hear that with CBD.
So again, but the CBD oil comes from the hemp, not the non-intoxicating cannabis versus the stuff we think of.
You can, I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's why it's confusing. You can get it from both.
Yeah.
Oh.
You can grow high CBD
which
strains.
is confusing.
Yeah.
All right. But CBD is not intoxicating.
It's not intoxicating, but it's in both kinds of cannabis.
Is that the only reason you want to have hemp? Is there any other use for hemp?
Oh,
as an old stagehand, we used manila ropes that we called hemp rope, even though it was outlawed because it used to be, they were made out of hemp.
Yeah,
they're not.
Industrial hemp, before the CBD craze came around, there was a lot of advocates pushing for the legalization of hemp just for its industrial purposes. The fibers, like you mentioned, clothes, food supplements, like hemp oil that doesn't have CBD in it. It's a health supplement that can be used for skin disorders as well. Hempcrete, I think, is really cool, interesting thing.
What?
Hempcrete, Hemp Concrete, where they take the herd, like the stalk of the hemp, and use it as a base.
It's like he's talking English, but I have no idea what he's talking about.
Hempcrete, it's like concrete with hemp.
Really?
Yeah, you mix it with
plant,
lime.
man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get mad when people talk about how cool avocados are, because hemp just can do so much more.
All right, so Hempcrete is concrete made out of hemp. Why would you want that?
She might know a little bit more than me, but I know it's a better insulator. It's more resistant against like molds and mildews. It's fire resistant. She might know a little bit more about it than that.
Fire resistant, therefore harder to smoke your concrete. All right, let's bring it to the feds for a second. So now that people are recognizing industrial hemp, probably more so than the CBD oil, what did the feds just recently do? Because this is fascinating.
There's a lot of moving parts with the feds. So the FDA just approved its first CBD medicine. It's called Epidiolex. It's for rare types of childhood epilepsy. But there's thinking that now that the FDA has approved this, the DEA has to reschedule CBD or maybe just this one drug. So you could open up where he was mentioning that there's not been a lot of research on what this molecule's potential is for human health. We're probably going to see a lot of pretty big pharmaceutical outfits starting to investigate CBD. So right now you kind of go not necessarily to a dispensary or a natural food store, even a farmer's market to get your CBD. Maybe one day you would get it from your doctor and your insurance would cover it.
And it would probably be much more, the quality control would be a whole lot better.
Depends on your perception, but consistent dosing, and you would know more about interactions with other medicines you're taking and that kind of thing. And that's a lot of what has been the opposition to cannabis therapy from mainstream medical operations, is how different it always is.
Insurance covers it too, which is a big deal for people.
So if this happens,
if it's available, Epidiolex.
It could.
Yeah,
it could.
And I can already see the recreational marijuana folks going, wait, this would be a backdoor to declassify it. But would it declassify all weed, or would it just declassify hemp? hemp?
Well, there's a segment of the hemp industry that's kind of worried about the FDA approval because they're worried that they're going to get pushed out because unless they have FDA approval, which can cost, hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars to get that in terms of building your facility out, it could change, the whole landscape of CBD. I think when people talk about being worried about big pharma infiltrating medical marijuana, I think CBD is going to that's going to happen first.
How do you mean? Are you saying that if this drug gets okayed by the FDA, does that mean all the medical marijuana shops in Colorado, they're worried that the feds are going to come in and start regulating it?
Some CBD and hemp companies are worried about that. Some aren't. Some don't think that's an issue. But when they were writing the bill, because Colorado had to pass a bill that can allow Epidiolex to be prescribed to people, it's going to be allowed to be prescribed a lot faster than other states in the country. But there were parts of the CBD and hemp industry that were worried that being passed would allow the FDA to kind of come and squeeze them out and say, you don't have approval, therefore you can't sell CBD oil as medicine.
Wow. All right. Wasn't there also something in the Farm Bill that just passed?
Yeah. So
help me with this one, too.
Okay. So the Farm Bill passes every 5 years. It's where Congress considers things like food stamps and subsidies to American farmers. In 2014, the Farm Bill allowed states to experiment with hemp, and that's where our whole modern hemp industry comes from, which is why you didn't hear about it 5 or 6 years ago. Now everything's hemp and CBD. So we have two versions. There's a Farm Bill out of the House, a Farm Bill out of the Senate. Now they have to work it out to get to the president. And a lot of the dispute is about food stamps. However, there's a big difference in hemp, too. The House version doesn't have any hemp mentioned, which means what would happen to hemp. And probably you'd be state by state patchwork. And the Senate says that hemp is no longer a controlled substance. You can grow it for any reason, and you're immune from criminal prosecution if you accidentally grew marijuana but you meant to grow hemp. So it could have some real big implications.
Now here's where my mind is going. Tell me if I got it right. So, oh my God, a hemp farmer goes, I'm doing this for CBD oil and I'm Hemp Concrete or whatever else. And now it's legal, this is going to be great, and I'll be able to move it across the country without worrying about state lines, because I can grow it as long as it's 0.3. But wait a second, what happens if the DEA comes knocking and it's 0.31? What happens? Does that turn me into a drug dealer from a hemp guy, and therefore I can't do any of this?
That's why it's so interesting, because what the hemp industry wants is they want the DEA completely out of it. They want this to be the USDA, and that the DEA is never going to come onto a farm and test for THC content or tell you you're a drug dealer or any of that kind of stuff. You're going to be just like a corn farmer or a soybean farmer. But the USDA has no ability to go around testing hemp farms for the THC content, whether you're 0.3 or 0.31. So everybody that wants this to come through the Farm Bill, the hemp industry says, oh, it's fine, the states will do that. But there's a lot of pretty big states, like you mentioned, Texas and Illinois, Iowa, some pretty big farm states that don't have any hemp programs. And there's no money in the Farm Bill for them to do this testing, so who knows?
I love the image of the THC tester. You think your job is cool. People at parties want it. I'm the tester.
Yeah.
I test to see if the content is good.
Yeah.
All right, so the biggest obstacle now, what is it that people need to worry about?
For hemp?
Yeah, what's the fight?
I think the DEA just trying to get them to open their eyes up, or at least just accept public opinion. When you talk to owner of a hemp industry, it's like, is hemp legal? And they don't know. It's just it's so murky. We were just laughing about that earlier.
Businesses can't work with uncertainty.
Right.
And so either make a decision. All right, I got to run. Kristen, always good to see you. Thank you. See you in Westword. Stay tuned.